How to force yourself to be disciplined. Discipline is forcing yourself to do what must be done, even when you don't want to. This is the truth most people avoid, but it is the truth that separates success from failure. The title says it clearly, how to force yourself to be disciplined, because let's be honest, if you wait until you feel ready, you'll keep waiting forever. If you depend on motivation, you'll always fall short. Discipline is not a choice you make only on good days. It's the decision you make every single day, especially when it feels hardest. Think about it. How many opportunities have you lost because you delayed? How many times has comfort stolen progress from you? This message is not about theory. It's about reality. It's about learning to take control of yourself in the moments when excuses scream the loudest. If you can force yourself into discipline, you can change every area of your life, and that's exactly what you're about to learn. Chapter 1. Face your laziness directly and refuse to negotiate. Discipline is not something you stumble upon. It is not something that arrives at your door one morning with a smile. Discipline is something you must face, something you must confront, and most importantly, something you must force into your life when everything inside of you would rather avoid it. When you feel that pull of laziness, when your body says stay in bed, when your mind whispers that you deserve a break, that is the moment you must stand up and refuse to negotiate. Because if you negotiate with laziness even once, it will win the argument every single time. Laziness never runs out of excuses. Laziness will always have another reason ready. But if you refuse to negotiate, if you take your stand, you begin to build the kind of strength that changes your life. Laziness has a way of disguising itself. It does not always arrive as doing nothing. Sometimes it shows up as scrolling endlessly through your phone. Sometimes it comes as eating food you don't need. Sometimes it looks like busy work that keeps you from doing what really matters. That is how it wins. It fools you into believing you are doing enough, when in reality you are avoiding what is difficult. And the truth about life is this: progress is always found in what is difficult. The things that push you, the things that make you sweat, the things that demand your focus, those are the things that shape you into a person of discipline. If you want to become disciplined, you have to learn to see laziness for what it truly is, the enemy of your future. When you wake up in the morning and you feel the weight of the bed holding you down, that is the moment discipline is calling your name. You either answer it or you turn your back on it. But here is the reality. Every time you turn your back on discipline, you strengthen your laziness. Every time you choose comfort over action, you train your mind to obey laziness. And then, when it matters most, when your life demands focus, you will already be conditioned to quit. That is why it is so dangerous to negotiate with laziness. Even the smallest excuses begin to shape your character. You think you are only skipping a workout, but what you are really doing is building the habit of saying no to discipline. Now ask yourself, how many times have you chosen the easy option over the necessary one? How many times have you said, I will do it tomorrow, only to realize that tomorrow looked exactly like today? That is laziness negotiating with you, and you accepted the deal. But if you truly want to live a better life, you cannot keep signing that contract. You must face laziness directly, look it in the eye, and refuse to make a deal with it. You say no. You take action in that very moment, even if your mind screams otherwise. That is what forces discipline into your system. You see, the reason so many people remain stuck is not because they lack knowledge. It is not because they lack opportunity. It is because they negotiate with laziness. They wait until they feel ready. They wait until the conditions are perfect. They wait until the motivation arrives. But those things never come when you expect them. If you sit around waiting for the perfect feeling, you will wait for the rest of your life. Discipline begins when you act before you feel ready. It begins when you face laziness directly, and you move in spite of it. The human mind is a master at creating comfort. Tells you stories. You worked hard yesterday. Take it easy today. You don't have the energy right now. Do it later. One skipped day won't hurt. These are not harmless thoughts. These are chains. They keep you tied down to the same level, the same results, the same life. And if you accept them, you become weaker without realizing it. You may think you are just resting, but in reality you are training yourself to surrender. This is where you must build the ability to recognize those thoughts and shut them down before they control you. Think about the people you admire most. They are not more talented than you. They are not luckier than you. They simply stopped. You do not debate it. You do not ask how you feel. You stand up and you act. That small victory begins to break the pattern. And once you break the pattern once, you can break it again and again and again. That is how discipline is built, through small victories stacked on top of each other, until they create a foundation that laziness cannot break. And every time you win against laziness, you gain something more than progress. You gain confidence. You begin to trust yourself. You know that when laziness shows up tomorrow, you will be ready. You will not fold. You will not bargain. You will act. That trust is priceless. Because once you trust yourself, once you know that you will not negotiate with weakness, your life changes in ways you cannot imagine. There will always be people who say, "I can't do it. It's too hard. I'll start later." Do not join them. They are waiting for a moment that will never come. Instead, become the person who says, "I will do it now. I will act, even when I don't feel like it. I will not negotiate." That person builds a life of freedom, success, and growth. And that person can be you. So remember this: the next time laziness calls, do not answer. The next time it whispers, shut it down. The next time it offers comfort, refuse the deal. Stand firm. Take action. Build your strength one choice at a time. And never forget, the moment you refusito negotiate with laziness is the moment you force yourself into discipline. And discipline is the path that changes everything. Chapter 2: Take small actions, immediately taught rain instant response. Discipline is not something you build in giant leaps. It is not something that appears one day after a sudden decision. It is created in small actions taken at the exact moment they are needed. Every time you delay, every time you wait, you weaken the ability to respond. The secret to real discipline is learning to act immediately, to move as soon as the thought enters your mind, without hesitation and without negotiation. Those small, instant actions train your mind and body to respond without delay. And that habit becomes the foundation of strength in every part of life. Think about how often opportunities pass you by simply because you paused. You felt the Urgito exercise but waited a little longer and then skipped it. You knew you had a call to make but told yourself you would do it later, and later never came. You had an idea to write something down but convinced yourself it could wait, and then you forgot. These small moments do not feel destructive at the time, but they slowly condition you to ignore your own direction. They teach your mind that hesitation is acceptable, and the more you accept hesitation, the weaker your discipline becomes. Now imagine the opposite. Imagine every time you had the thought to act, you moved. You thought of drinking water, so you drank it. You thought of picking up a book, so you opened it. You remembered a task you needed to complete, so you started it right then. That pattern builds something powerful, the ability to respond instantly. That is how you remove laziness before it grows. That is how you prevent procrastination from building roots. And that is how you gain control over yourself. The reason immediate action is so powerful is because the human brain is fast at creating reasons to stop. Within seconds of thinking about doing something hard, your mind creates a list of arguments against it. Tells you you're too tired. It tells you you'll have more energy later. Tells you it's not urgent right now. But those arguments only appear when you wait. If you act before your brain has time to debate, you win. You cut off the excuses before they take shape. That is why small, instant actions matter more than big, delayed ones. When you decide to train this skill, start with something simple. As soon as your alarm rings, stand up. Not after a few minutes, not after checking your phone. Stand up immediately. That is a small action, but it builds a strong lesson. I control my response. Do the same when you remember a small task. Do it right then, even if it takes only 30 seconds. Each time you do this, you reinforce the message that you are a person who acts, not a person who waits. Discipline is not just about grand goals. It is about teaching yourself that your actions follow your decisions. If you decide to do something and then don't, you are teaching yourself taught out your own word. But if you decide and then act instantly, you are teaching yourself trust. That trust grows into confidence. Confidence grows into consistency. And consistency builds a disciplined life. But it begins with small actions taken immediately. You may think small actions are too insignificant to matter, but they are the seeds of change. When you act instantly on a small task, you train the same mental muscle that will later help. You act instantly on bigger challenges. Picking up a book today trains the same discipline that will help you start a business tomorrow. Standing up as soon as your alarm rings trains the same discipline that will help you stay strong under pressure later. You cannot skip the small steps. They are the training ground for the big ones. If you want to test yourself, give this rule a try. When you think of something necessary, count down from 3 and then do it. 3, 2, 1, move. Do not let the thought sit for long. That simple rule removes hesitation. It breaks the habit of waiting, and it forces you to build a new reflex. Act now. Over time, you won't need to count. Your body will move on its own. That is what real discipline feels like, not forced effort but trained reflex. But here is the truth. You will not always feel like moving instantly. Some days the small action will feel heavier than it should. Some days you will want to delay. That is where training comes in. You are not building a lifestyle where everything feels easy. You are building a mind that acts regardless of feelings. Feelings change. One day you feel motivated. The next day you don't. If your life depends on feelings, you will live inconsistent. But if your life depends on trained response, you will live disciplined. Look at any person who has achieved consistency in their field. They are not waiting for inspiration every day. They train themselves to act as soon as the decision was made. That is why they succeed. They may not always do it perfectly, but they do it without delay. And the truth is, discipline is not about perfection. It is about consistency of action over time. That consistency is impossible without instant response. You must also understand that waiting does more than waste time. It weakens your self-respect. Every time you delay, you feel the weight of disappointment. You know you should have moved, but you didn't. That small regret builds into frustration. And frustration, if repeated long enough, turns into self-doubt. That is the dangerous cycle of hesitation. But when you act immediately, even on something small, you feel a sense of pride. That pride fuels motivation. That motivation makes the next action easier. And soon, your life is filled with momentum instead of regret. Discipline is not a gift. It is a choice repeated until it becomes natural. And the most powerful way to train that choice is through instant action. When you think of doing something productive, move before excuses arrive. When you feel resistance, step into it quickly before it grows. Every instant action is a reminder that you are stronger than hesitation. The beauty of this approach is that anyone can start it right now. You don't need money. You don't need equipment. You don't need special skills. All you need is the willingness to act as soon as the thought appears. That is available to everyone. And the more you practice, the more natural it becomes. The first time you do it, it may feel uncomfortable. The 10th time, it feels less difficult. The 100th time, it feels automatic. That is how you turn instant action into habit. Think about this. Every person has the same 24 hours. Some build disciplined lives. Others waste their days. The difference is not time. The difference is response. Some act immediately. Others wait. Which group do you want to belong to? The answer lies in what you do the moment a decision comes into your mind. If you want a stronger future, stop giving power to hesitation. Start honoring your thoughts with immediate action. When you feel the urge to do something good for yourself, move. When you know a task is waiting, handle it now. When you have the choice to delay or act, choose act. Those choices may seem small in the moment, but they are shaping who you become. The disciplined life is built in these exact moments. Not tomorrow, not someday, right now, right here, in the decision you make today. Take small actions immediately, and you will train yourself to respond instantly. That instant response becomes your protection against laziness, procrastination, and wasted time. It becomes the tool that helps you live with focus and strength. And it becomes the foundation of a life that grows stronger every single day. When you decido act instantly, you are telling yourself that your future matters more than your comfort. You are telling yourself that excuses will no longer run your life. You are telling yourself that you are in control. That message, repeated in small actions, will change everything. So when the next decision enters your mind, Do not wait. Do not hesitate. Do not negotiate. Act. Move. Respond. Because the life you want is waiting, but only for the person who learns to act without delay. Chapter 3. Control your thoughts before they control your decisions. The greatest battles of discipline are not fought outside but inside the human mind. Every action you take begins first as a thought, and every decision you make is shaped by the direction of your thinking. If you do not learn to control what goes on in your head, then your life will always be led by impulses, emotions, and distortions. But when you gain control over your thoughts, you put yourself in the position to make stronger, clearer, and wiser choices. Discipline becomes possible only when you understand how powerful your thinking truly is. Most people underestimate how much their thoughts influence their lives. They believe that actions are separate from thinking. But in reality, action is only the extension of what you allow to stay in your mind. Think about it. The person who repeatedly tells themselves they will never improve eventually stops trying. The person who constantly thinks they will fail does not even begin. Thoughts are not harmless. They are the seeds of every decision, and every decision builds your future. This is why controlling your thoughts is the most important foundation for discipline. When you are not aware of what you think, your mind becomes a playground for negativity. One negative thought leads to another, and soon you are filled with hesitation, fear, or excuses. You say to yourself that you are too tired, that you are not capable, or that it is not worth the effort. If you allow these thoughts to sit in your mind, they will shape your actions. You may not notice it at first, but slowly you begin to avoid what is hard. You begin to settle for less than you are capable of, and over time your life reflects the weakness of those thoughts. The good news is that you can take back control. You can train yourself to filter your thoughts the way you filter the food you eat. You do not eat whatever is put in front of you without thinking. You choose carefully, because you know it will affect your health. In the same way, you cannot allow every thought to take root. You must choose which thoughts are worth keeping and which ones must be replaced. This is a discipline in itself, the discipline of thought management. The first step to controlling your thoughts is awareness. Too many people live on autopilot, never stopping to notice what they are thinking. They assume their thoughts are facts, when in reality, most thoughts are simply opinions, interpretations, or echoes of past experiences. If you want to take control, you must learn to stop and examine. Ask yourself, what am I thinking right now? Is this thought leading me forward or holding me back? Is this thought building discipline or destroying it? The very act of asking these questions gives you the power to separate yourself from the thought instead of being controlled by it. The second step is replacement. You cannot simply force a thought to disappear. The human mind does not operate in empty space. If you want to get rid of a destructive thought, you must replace it with a constructive one. If your mind says, I can't do this, you replace it with, I may struggle, but I can learn and improve. If your mind says, I don't feel like starting, you replace it with, I will begin now, because starting creates momentum. Replacement is not about pretending everything is perfect. It is about directing your mind toward thoughts that build strength, rather than weakness. Another important step is to limit the input that feeds negative thoughts. Your environment is constantly shaping the way you think. The news you consume, the conversations you have, the people you spend time with, all of these leave an impression on your mind. If you surround yourself with people who always complain, you will start to think in complaints. If you fill your day with endless entertainment, your thoughts will lean toward comfort instead of growth. Controlling your thoughts also means controlling what you expose yourself to daily. If you want discipline, you must create an environment that feeds your mind with clarity, focus, and direction. One of the strongest tools for controlling your thoughts is reflection. Set aside time each day to examine how your thinking guided your choices. Ask yourself, did my thoughts push me toward my goals or away from them today? Where did I let negativity control my actions? Where did I win the battle in my mind? This habit builds awareness and allows you to make corrections before poor thinking becomes a habit. The more often you reflect, the quicker you catch harmful patterns. Understand this truth. Your feelings often follow your thoughts. If your thinking is undisciplined, your emotions will be unstable. You will feel discouraged, overwhelmed, or anxious, not because of circumstances, but because of how you are thinking about them. But when you control your thoughts, your emotions become more stable. You feel capable, strong, and in control. And when your emotions are steady, your decisions improve. This is why controlling your thoughts is not just a mental exercise. It directly affects your energy, your focus, and your ability to follow through. You must also learn to challenge irrational thoughts. Many times your mind will exaggerate reality. It will tell you the task is too big, that you don't have enough time, that failure is certain. But when you step back, you realize those are not facts, they are fears. Discipline grows when you confront those fears with truth. The task may be big, but it can be broken into steps. You may not feel ready, but you can start with what you have. Failure may be possible, but so is success. Challenging thoughts is how you prevent them from dictating your behavior. Controlling your thoughts is not about ignoring difficulty. Life will always present challenges. It is about choosing how you respond to those challenges in your mind before you respond in your actions. The person who disciplines their thoughts says this is difficult, but I can handle it one step at a time. The person who does not control their thoughts says this is difficult, so I won't try. Same situation, different thought, completely different outcome. If you want to make this practical, begin by paying attention to the small moment. Notice what you say to yourself when the alarm rings. Notice what you think when you face a hard task. Notice the thoughts that appear when you feel tempted to delay. Then begin the practice of replacing them instantly. Instead of 5 more minutes of sleep, say getting up now strengthens them. Instead of I'll do it later, say doing it now keeps me disciplined. Instead of this is too much, say I will take the first step. This is how you slowly retrain your mind to work for you instead of against you. Over time, as you win more battles in your mind, you begin to feel stronger. You trust yourself more because you know your thoughts no longer control you. You control them. That trust builds a kind of quiet power. You no longer feel like a victim of your feelings. You no longer let every distraction pull you away. You live with intention. That is the essence of discipline. Living by choice instead of reaction. One of the greatest benefits of controlling your thoughts is that it gives you freedom. People often think discipline is about restriction, but it is the opposite. When your thoughts are clear and directed, you are free from the chaos of impulses and doubts. You are free to decide your own actions instead of being pulled by every feeling. That freedom gives you strength. It gives you peace. And it gives you the ability to move forward consistently, even when life is difficult. The difference between those who stay stuck and those who grow is simple. The ones who stay stuck never take control of their thinking. They let their thoughts run wild. And those thoughts lead them into poor decisions, wasted time, and regret. The ones who grow learn to master the inner dialogue. They choose thoughts that serve them. They replace weakness with strength. And because of that, their actions follow a higher path. From this moment forward, make it your mission to notice your thinking. Treat every thought as a visitor, knocking on the door of your mind. Some visitors you welcome in because they bring value. Others you send away because they bring harm. The power to decide who stays and who leaves is yours. When you exercise that power daily, discipline becomes not just an action, but a way of life. Do not wait until your thoughts drag you into poor decisions. Take control at first moment. Direct your mind determination. Before it directs you. Replace weakness with strength, hesitation with action.